Hi, everybody. So it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting in my car. I don't know why I'm wearing my seatbelt, though. Don't actually need it, because I'm not going anywhere. So, just next in my vampire series, I wanted to review Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. I'm sorry if I'm completely butchering that. I have no idea how it's pronounced. And I actually read it last fall, and I thought about reviewing it for Halloween. I didn't get a chance to. I thought about reviewing it for Snowy Scares. I didn't get a chance to. I left my knitting at work too, so I can't even do that. So I decided I would just give you a little quick review for the vampire theme for January. So the story is about this little boy. Well, little boy, he's about 13. His name's Oscar, and it's set in the 80s in Sweden. And we have an idea of Sweden as this sort of, socialist paradise. Everybody gets along. Everybody's really good looking. But that's not the world that is created in this world. Oscar's mother is a single mother. They don't have a lot of money. They live in a really depressing apartment complex. And Oscar is horribly bullied. I mean, you believe that these kids would kill him if there were not going to be any repercussions. And they don't even really have any reason for hating him other than that they hate him. He's a chubby kid, and what's interesting about him is a lot of the time when you get bullied kids in stories, you kind of feel sympathetic for them and they become the heroes of the stories. But Oscar is not a very likable character, and he would probably kill somebody if he would get away with it too. So there's that, there's a deep pessimism running through the book. So one night he's outside at his apartment complex, and he meets this girl, Eli, or Ellie. I think it's, I look at it Eli, and that to me is Eli, but I don't know. And it turns out that Eli is a vampire, and they strike up a friendship, and Oscar is really drawn to Eli, and Eli seems to want to have some kind of normal relationships, but can't, obviously, because they're a vampire, right? And I use gender neutral terms because Eli was a boy castrated before or around the time they became a vampire. So they're not a boy, but they're also not a girl. So and the friendship plot is pretty straightforward until things kind of come to a head, and Oscar's bullying gets out of hand. He tries to retaliate against the bullies. They don't take very kindly to that, and by the end of it, they really do try to kill him. And that's when Eli comes in and wreaks havoc on everything. And that's the most that's the surface plot, and that's the plot of the movie as well, which cuts out a lot of stuff from the book, which in this particular case, I think, because it looks and it focuses on the friendship between the two young people at the core, I think that really it makes for a tighter, better plotted movie. And I've said before, what works in a book doesn't necessarily work in a movie, and vice versa. And this is a really good example of that. So there are a number of subplots, both minor and major, in the story. So the first is a minor subplot about Hakan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's Eli's caregiver, who is a pedo, and he goes hunting for Eli, but he feels really bad about it. And he keeps trying to bargain his way around what he wants from Eli versus what he does for Eli. And eventually he does get caught, and then he pours acid over his face so nobody recognizes him, and he actually ends up living through that and becomes this horrible zombie creature, and it's really disturbing. And then the major subplot is a side story about a group of middle-aged alcoholics. The first one becomes one of Eli's victims and dies, and then another one gets partially turned into a vampire, and we sort of follow their depressing existence until Victoria, the one that gets turned, has to be killed. And then there's another sort of, again, a mild subplot about a neighbor guy named Tommy. He's a teenager, and he likes to go in the basement and huff glue. And his mother is dating Stefan, as Stefan is the cop who arrests Hakan and is trying to work on this case. But this is all really a sort of loose look at the people who exist around the core 2 in the story. So both the film and the book are really slowly paced. And then there's just like these flashes of absolute brutality. And I guess it's an okay read. It's a little bit slow. I'll give it 4 out of 5. Mostly for the relationship between Oscar and Eli, and also for it's a challenging read because the characters are so unlikable, every one of them. I think the only one that's even remotely sympathetic is Eli, and Eli's a vampire. Eli eats people. So, I mean, it does kind of work on you in a strange way. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that. It's definitely worth a read, and it leaves you sort of hanging as to what happens to the young people. But in his heart, Oscar wants to be with Eli no matter what he has to do to get there. And it's a story of a very unusual friendship, and definitely worth a read. So again, I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, just that this is one incident where I do like the book, or where I do like the movie better than the book, but the book is definitely worth a read for the characters. All right, I hope you're reading lots of great horror. Have a great day.